Have you ever wondered how much of your life you lose by letting your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind run wild without control? Think about it for a moment. How many times have careless words damaged relationships you value? How many moments of anger or sadness stole your peace and left you powerless? How often has money slipped through your fingers, not because you lacked it, but because you lacked control over it? And how many nights have you spent wrestling with thoughts that chained you down instead of lifting you up? Deep down, you already know this truth. Control is freedom. It sounds strange, but it's real. The moment you take back control of what you speak, what you feel, what you spend, and what you think, you step into a level of power most people never reach in their lifetime. Your mouth has the power to build or destroy. A single word can heal someone's heart, or it can scar them forever. Every careless argument, every unnecessary complaint, every hurtful word, it doesn't just wound others, it weakens you. Because the energy you put out is the energy that grows inside you. Imagine what could change in your life if every word you spoke carried weight, intention, and purpose. People would listen. Opportunities would open. Respect would come naturally. You wouldn't need to chase it because your presence would demand it. That's the reward of controlling your mouth. It transforms silence into wisdom and words into influence. Your mood is the lens through which you see the world. When your mood is in chaos, everything looks broken, hopeless, and heavy. But when your mood is steady, even challenges feel like opportunities. The problem is that too many of us surrender our mood to circumstances. We let traffic, deadlines, or other people decide whether we feel peace or rage, joy or despair. But the truth is, no one can take your mood unless you hand it over. When you learn to control it, you stop being a victim of life and start becoming the author of it. That doesn't mean you'll never feel sadness or anger again. It means you'll own those emotions instead of letting them own you. And when you own them, you can turn even the darkest storm into fuel for growth. Money is not just numbers in a bank account. It is energy, choice, and freedom. Yet many lose control of it, not because they don't earn enough, but because they let emotions, habits, and impulses dictate how they use it. Control over money is not about greed. It's about peace. It's about sleeping at night without the fear of bills crushing you. It's about having the power to say yes to opportunities and no to exploitation. It's about freedom from the silent slavery of debt and regret. Imagine the confidence you would feel knowing your money works for you, not against you. That level of control is possible, but only if you stop letting short-term pleasures steal your long-term future. And then there is the mind, the battlefield where every victory and defeat is decided before it ever happens in the real world. If your mind is full of fear, you will see obstacles everywhere. If your mind is filled with doubt, you will sabotage every chance you get. But if your mind is disciplined, focused, and calm, nothing can stand in your way. Your reality is simply a reflection of what you continually think. If you want to change your life, start with your mind. Guard it like treasure because it is. This is why controlling your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind is not about restriction. It is about liberation. It's about finally stepping into the life you were meant to live. If you stay with me until the end, you'll discover how to rise above old patterns, break free from invisible chains, and build a future where you don't just survive, you thrive. Because control is not the end of freedom. It is the beginning of it. Most people live as if their lives are on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, drifting instead of directing. They let their mouths speak whatever their emotions command. They let their mood swing like doors in the wind. They spend their money on impulses that leave them empty, and they fill their minds with noise that drowns out their true potential. And because of this, they wonder why peace, success, and fulfillment seem so far away. But here's the truth. Nothing changes until you take ownership. Control is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about refusing to let your life be ruled by accident when it can be guided by design. Think about the moments you regret most. They almost always come from loss of control, words you wish you never said, outbursts of anger that broke trust, purchases that created stress instead of security, thoughts that spiraled into fear and held you back. Regret is the echo of a life that lacked discipline. But here's the beauty. Discipline is a skill. It's not reserved for the gifted or the privileged. It can be trained, strengthened, and built, just like a muscle. Every time you practice restraint, you grow. Every time you pause before speaking, you grow. Every time you choose calm instead of chaos, you grow. Every time you save instead of spend, you grow. Every time you replace a negative thought with a powerful one, you grow. Growth is the reward of control. Your mouth becomes a tool of creation instead of destruction when you choose silence over gossip, encouragement over complaint, and clarity over confusion. People are drawn to those who speak with intention because deep down, everyone craves certainty in a world filled with noise. Your words can calm storms or start fires. If you learn to control them, you'll find yourself shaping the energy of every room you enter. That's not just communication, it's influence. And influence is one of the most valuable currencies you can ever own. Your mood is your atmosphere, and others feel it before you even speak. When your mood is unstable, you drain others. But when you anchor it, you inspire. Controlled moods create consistency, and consistency builds trust. People trust those who don't explode under pressure, who don't break when things get hard, who carry an inner calm that steadies everyone around them. And here's the secret. When you control your mood, you don't just lift yourself, you lift everyone connected to you. You become the example that shows others peace is possible. Money becomes a weapon or a shield depending on how you control it. Without discipline, it slips away, leaving you vulnerable. With control, it becomes a foundation. A controlled approach to money means building security, creating options, and opening doors. It means saying no to the temptation of instant gratification and yes to the freedom of long-term stability. Every controlled choice compounds, and what feels small today becomes powerful tomorrow. That's how wealth is built, not by chance, but by consistent, controlled actions. And the mind, the silent engine that drives it all. When you master your thoughts, you master your reality. Every doubt, every fear, every excuse you entertain grows stronger the longer it lives in your mind. But the opposite is also true. Every vision, every belief, every word of faith you repeat becomes a force that reshapes who you are. Control is about feeding your mind with the thoughts that align with the life you want, not the life you fear. It's about training your focus so powerfully that distractions lose their grip. This is the truth few are willing to face. Control requires effort, but chaos costs far more. The pain of discipline is temporary, but the pain of regret lasts forever. The question you must answer is simple. Will you live bound by impulses, or will you rise with intention? One choice leads to a life of wasted potential. The other leads to a life of unstoppable strength. The choice is yours, and it starts now. Control is the dividing line between those who drift through life and those who rise to greatness. The difference is not talent, not luck, not background. It's the ability to master what others allow to master them. If you cannot control your mouth, you will destroy connections that could have elevated you. If you cannot control your mood, you will sabotage your peace before anyone else can. If you cannot control your money, you will always live in chains, no matter how much you earn. If you cannot control your mind, you will always be a prisoner, even if the world hands you freedom. The ones who rise are not the strongest or the smartest. They are the ones who choose discipline over impulse. The science of psychology confirms this. Self-control is the foundation of long-term success. Studies show that people who practice restraint and delay gratification live healthier, wealthier, and happier lives. They build stronger relationships, achieve more in their careers, and enjoy greater peace of mind. Why? Because they are not constantly cleaning up the mess left by their own lack of discipline. They are not apologizing for words that slipped out in anger. They are not stuck in financial stress from impulsive decisions. They are not drowning in negative thoughts that paralyze progress. Instead, they build steadily, consistently, intentionally. And that steady building creates lives that look unshakable from the outside. Your words are energy, and energy never disappears. Every phrase you release leaves a mark. If you train your tongue to serve your future instead of sabotage it, you will notice doors opening where walls once stood. Respect flows naturally to those who speak with control. It's not about speaking often, it's about speaking wisely. Those who control their mouths speak less, but what they say has power, and power attracts opportunities. Your emotions shape the story you tell yourself about life. An uncontrolled mood tells you the world is against you, that everything is too hard, that nothing will change. A controlled mood tells you the world is full of possibilities, that you are strong enough, that growth is worth the struggle. The emotion you choose to control becomes the lens you live through. If you let chaos dictate your mood, life feels unbearable. But when you command your mood, life feels like a challenge you are destined to conquer. Money is the proof of discipline in action. Those who control it live with freedom. Those who don't live with chains. It doesn't matter how much you make if you cannot control what you keep. True security is not found in how much comes in, but in how well you master what goes out. Every impulsive purchase is not just money lost, it's future power surrendered. Every moment of control is not just money saved, it's a foundation laid for the life you dream of. And above all, the mind. Every battle is won or lost there first. A disciplined mind is a fortress. It does not crumble under doubt. It does not surrender to fear. It does not waste energy on distractions. It stays fixed on vision, even when the world shakes around it. That is why the mind is the greatest battlefield, and control of it is the greatest victory. When you master your mind, nothing external can defeat you. This is the secret most people ignore. The habits of control compound into destiny. Small disciplines, repeated daily, shape a future beyond what you can imagine. Your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind. If you control these four, you control your life. And when you control your life, you are no longer a passenger. You become the driver, the creator, the force. And once you taste that kind of power, you will never settle for less again. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you dream of being, and that bridge is built through control. Without control, your dreams remain distant visions that fade with time. With control, they become destinations you are steadily moving toward. Every word you speak, every mood you manage, every dollar you direct, every thought you choose, it all adds up. To small actions compound into massive results, whether positive or negative. Your future will not be determined by one grand decision, but by the tiny choices you make again and again. The choices that reveal whether you are in control or being controlled. When you master your mouth, you shift from reaction to intention. Instead of spilling out whatever your emotions dictate, you begin to speak with clarity and purpose. This doesn't just protect your relationships, it empowers your identity. People who cannot trust their own words cannot trust themselves, but those who control their speech build confidence both internally and externally. Confidence grows when your words align with your values and your vision. It is in that alignment that respect forms, not only from others, but from yourself. You stop regretting conversations and start owning them. You stop wasting energy on apologies for words that slip, and you start using your words to shape the reality you desire. When you master your mood, you break the cycle of emotional slavery. Most people let circumstances pull them like puppets. A comment ruins their day. A delay in traffic robs their peace. An obstacle fills them with frustration. But the truth is, life will always throw challenges. What changes everything is your response. The person who has control over their mood carries a calm that others crave. That calm becomes strength. And strength is magnetic. It draws trust, it inspires faith, and it creates stability in unstable times. This doesn't mean you ignore your feelings. It means you own them, direct them, and use them as tools instead of letting them use you. When you master your money, you step out of fear and into freedom. Money itself is neutral. It is the way you handle it that gives it meaning. Controlled money becomes a servant, providing choices, opportunities, and stability. Uncontrolled money becomes a master, dictating your stress, your relationships, and even your dreams. Every impulse purchase, every unchecked expense, every careless decision chips away at your future. But every disciplined decision, every moment of patience, every intentional plan builds security that cannot be taken away. Money in control is peace of mind, and peace of mind is priceless. When you master your mind, you unlock the highest form of control. Your mind is the origin of every word, every mood, every financial decision. If your thoughts are chaotic, every area of life will reflect that chaos. But if your thoughts are disciplined, everything else aligns. Your mind is a filter, and what you allow in determines what comes out. Feed it negativity, and negativity will dominate. Feed it strength, clarity, and vision, and your life will rise to meet them. The greatest victories are not won against the world. They are won against the weakness inside your own head. When you conquer that, nothing external can truly shake you. Control may feel hard at first, but so does every skill worth mastering. The weight of discipline feels heavy in the beginning, but it becomes the very strength that carries you. The chains of impulse feel light at first, but they grow heavier every day until they crush you. That is the choice. Carry the weight of discipline or be crushed by the weight of regret. The first builds you, the second breaks you. One gives you freedom, the other steals it. Which weight will you choose? The greatest enemy of control is not the outside world. It is the voice inside that whispers excuses. That voice tells you it's harmless to say what you feel without thinking. It tells you it's natural to let your mood decide the tone of your day. It tells you money is meant to be spent the moment it arrives. It tells you your thoughts are beyond your command, that they appear and vanish without your permission. That voice is not your ally. It is the quiet force that keeps millions trapped in patterns of weakness. Control begins the moment you stop listening to that voice and start questioning it. Every time you silence an excuse, you take back power. Every time you refuse to let that voice win, you strengthen your discipline. And every time you strengthen your discipline, you carve another path toward freedom. Your words must pass through the filter of intention, not impulse. Speak only what builds, what uplifts, what aligns with the person you are becoming. The world is filled with noise, but few speak words that cut through it with clarity. Controlled speech is rare, and what is rare is valuable. When you control your mouth, you become a person others lean toward, not away from. Your words create trust, and trust creates influence. That influence can change not only your life, but the lives of everyone connected to you. This is why control is not small. It is everything. Your mood must no longer be a hostage to your environment. Life will test you with delays, disappointments, and difficulties. If your peace depends on perfection, you will never find peace. But if your peace depends on discipline, nothing can take it away. The most powerful people are not those who never feel emotion. They are those who feel it fully but refuse to let it dictate their path. To control your mood is to protect your energy. And protecting your energy is how you protect your destiny. Your money must serve your vision instead of your impulses. Every dollar you control is a brick in the foundation of your future. Every dollar you waste is a crack in that foundation. If you want to build a life that is steady and unshakable, you cannot afford to treat money carelessly. The truth is simple. Money without control will eventually control you. Debt, stress, and lack of options are the chains of undisciplined choices. But money with control becomes a tool of freedom, a resource that empowers you to build, to give, to grow, and to live without fear. In your mind, your greatest battlefield. If you do not guard it, it will be invaded by fear, by doubt, by distractions that strip you of progress. But when you master your mind, you begin to create instead of react. You begin to direct your focus towards solutions instead of problems, toward gratitude instead of complaints, toward possibilities instead of limitations. A controlled mind is a creative mind, and a creative mind cannot be stopped. It is the birthplace of innovation, resilience, and unstoppable drive. This is the essence of control. It is not about restriction. It is about power. It is not about denying yourself life. It is about giving yourself the ability to live it fully, without chains, without regrets, without the constant chaos of being ruled by impulses. Control transforms you from fragile to unshakable, from reactive to intentional, from drifting to driven. The strength you are searching for is not out there. It is already within you. You only need to claim it, protect it, and live by it. The life you desire is not waiting in some distant future. It is built in the decisions you make today. Every choice to control your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind is a brick placed in the structure of your destiny. The structure may not appear overnight, but day by day, choice by choice, discipline by discipline, it rises. And when it rises, it stands unshakable against storms that break others. Too many people waste their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for circumstances, waiting for luck. But control is not about waiting. It is about creating. It is about deciding that you will no longer be at the mercy of whatever comes your way. You will master yourself, and by mastering yourself, you master life. The mouth becomes a weapon of wisdom instead of destruction when you choose silence over rashness, truth over exaggeration, encouragement over criticism. Every word is either a seed or a poison. The question is, what are you planting into your own life and into the lives of others? Seeds of trust, seeds of vision, seeds of hope. Those are planted by a controlled tongue. Poison of doubt, poison of division, poison of fear. Those come from an uncontrolled one. What you plant, you will harvest. And when your harvest is strong, abundant, and powerful, it is because you mastered the discipline of your mouth. The mood becomes a force of stability instead of chaos when you take back the reins. The storms outside may rage, but the storm inside is a choice. Control does not erase emotion, it channels it. Anger becomes fuel for change instead of destruction. Sadness becomes reflection instead of despair. Excitement becomes focused energy instead of reckless decisions. This is the gift of mood control. It transforms raw feeling into disciplined power, and people will feel it. They will sense in you a strength that does not collapse under pressure, a calm that cannot be shaken, a balance that makes you dependable in a world full of instability. The money becomes a servant instead of a master when you take control of it with intention. Money without guidance will always run to waste, but money with control multiplies. Every disciplined choice creates momentum. Savings grow, opportunities appear, options expand. The person who controls their money does not just have wealth, they have freedom. Freedom to walk away from what no longer serves them. Freedom to seize opportunities without fear. Freedom to live by design, not desperation. That freedom is not reserved for the few. It belongs to anyone willing to practice control. The mind becomes a throne of power instead of a battlefield of chaos when you claim authority over it. Thoughts are not random. They are habits. And like any habit, they can be reshaped. If you constantly think weakness, your life will mirror weakness. If you consistently think strength, your life will rise to strength. The discipline of your mind is the foundation of every other discipline. Guard what enters. Direct what remains. Choose what grows. Because whatever dominates your mind will eventually dominate your life. Control is not punishment. Control is alignment. It aligns who you are with who you want to become. It removes the distance between your dreams and your actions. It silences regret before it has a chance to be born, and it gives you something most people never experience: inner peace combined with outer power. That is the reward waiting for you when you decide to rise above impulse and step fully into intention. The power is already in your hands. It begins the moment you choose to use it. Control is the highest form of freedom because it liberates you from the chains you cannot see. Most people think freedom is doing whatever they feel in the moment, but that kind of freedom always leads to slavery. Speaking without control traps you in broken trust and damaged connections. Letting moods dictate your actions locks you in cycles of chaos and regret. Spending without discipline imprisons you in endless worry and limitation. Thinking without direction leaves you at the mercy of fear, doubt, and distraction. Real freedom is not found in surrendering to impulse, but in mastering it. The world will never stop testing you, but control ensures you are no longer a victim of those tests. When you control your mouth, you guard your reputation, your influence, and your integrity. Words once spoken can never be taken back. They either elevate you or diminish you. Controlled words create clarity, direction, and inspiration. Uncontrolled words create confusion, mistrust, and destruction. Every moment you pause before speaking, you build power within yourself. You remind yourself that your voice is not cheap, it is valuable. And what is valuable is always used with care. If you want respect, control your words. If you want influence, control your words. If you want peace, control your words. That control becomes your shield and your sword in a world drowning in empty noise. When you control your mood, you gain mastery over the state of your soul. The environment will always throw storms, but storms cannot sink a ship that is steered with discipline. Your mood is your steering wheel. If you let it swing recklessly, you will always crash. But if you hold it steady, you will navigate through anything. Controlled moods create stability, and stability creates power. Others will begin to see you as unshakable. And being unshakable in a fragile world is one of the greatest strengths a human can possess. When you control your money, you write your future with intention instead of desperation. Money itself is not the goal. It is the tool that shapes options, freedom, and opportunity. Without control, that tool becomes a weapon against you. It carves out anxiety, debt, and limitation. With control, it becomes a builder of dreams. Every act of discipline with money is a declaration that your future matters more than your impulses. And when the future matters more, the future becomes brighter. When you control your mind, you master the source from which everything flows. Every word is born in thought. Every mood is colored by thought. Every financial decision begins with thought. If your mind is undisciplined, every area of your life will show the cracks. But when your mind is trained, when your thoughts are aligned with strength and clarity, you rise above everything that once held you down. The mind is not meant to be a wild storm. It is meant to be the command center of your destiny. And the moment you realize you can control it, you stop being a prisoner of your thoughts and start being a commander of your reality. Control is not about becoming rigid. It is about becoming unstoppable. It is about choosing strength over weakness, focus over distraction, and destiny over destruction. It's about finally refusing to hand over your power to anything outside of you. The life you dream of will not come by chance. It will come by choice. And that choice begins with the decision to master your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind. The world does not reward those who scatter their energy. It rewards those who channel it with precision. Control is the art of directing your power instead of wasting it. Every uncontrolled word leaks energy. Every uncontrolled mood drains strength. Every uncontrolled dollar steals freedom. Every uncontrolled thought sabotages progress. But the moment you decide to take ownership, that same energy becomes a weapon of transformation. The words you once wasted now inspire. The moods you once surrendered to now empower. The money you once lost now multiplies. The thoughts you once feared now build your future. Control takes what once worked against you and turns it into your greatest ally. Your mouth has the power to either reinforce your weaknesses or declare your strength. When you say, I can't, you feed limitation. When you gossip, you feed division. When you complain, you feed discontent. But when you discipline your words, you feed vision. You speak faith. You speak clarity. You speak life. And the more you speak life, the more life answers back to you. The tongue is small, but it can set the course of your entire destiny. If you want a future of power, your mouth must serve that vision with discipline. Your mood can either enslave you or liberate you. If your mood swings with circumstances, your life will always be unstable. But when you choose to rise above those swings, you gain authority over yourself. Authority over yourself is the highest form of power because the person who cannot be moved from within cannot be broken from without. Controlling your mood means controlling your perspective, and perspective is everything. With the wrong perspective, opportunities look like obstacles. With the right perspective, obstacles look like opportunities. The difference between the two is not the world outside, it is the control you hold inside. Your money can either shrink your life or expand it. People who fail to control their money spend their lives working for it, always chasing, always stressed. People who discipline their money make it work for them, opening doors, creating stability, and building freedom. The habit of financial control is not glamorous in the moment, but it is transformative over time. Every act of restraint builds a stronger foundation. Every intentional decision builds momentum, and momentum once built carries you further than impulse ever could. Your mind can either be a prison or a palace. If you allow doubt, fear, and negativity to run free, your mind becomes a cage. You live trapped by limitations you created yourself. But when you control your mind, when you decide what thoughts you will allow and which you will reject, that cage disappears. Your mind becomes a palace of vision, focus, and unshakable strength. What you think, you become. What you dwell on, you attract. What you train your mind to believe, you will eventually live. That is why mastering the mind is the highest form of self-mastery. It dictates everything else. Control is the hidden key that unlocks everything you desire. Without it, you can have talent, potential, and opportunity, yet still fall short. With it, even ordinary people achieve extraordinary things. Because control magnifies what you already have and aligns it with where you are going. It takes scattered energy and transforms it into unstoppable force. And the moment you fully embrace that truth is the moment your life begins to shift. Every breakthrough in life begins with the decision to no longer live as a slave to impulse. Discipline is not a punishment. It is a declaration that your future matters more than your feelings in the moment. Feelings come and go, but the consequences of your choices remain. Control is the force that bridges the gap between fleeting emotion and lasting impact. When you hold your tongue, you protect trust. When you hold your mood, you preserve peace. When you hold your money, you create security. When you hold your mind, you build strength. These acts may feel small in isolation, but together they form the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken. Your mouth is not just for communication. It is for creation. Every word that leaves your lips is a command to your reality. Speak weakness long enough, and you will live in weakness. Speak strength long enough, and you will rise in strength. The words you release are not meaningless, they are blueprints. With control, you design a future where your voice builds instead of breaks, where your speech uplifts instead of destroys, where your language becomes a force that calls success, respect, and opportunity into existence. Words are power, but only when they are governed by discipline. Your mood is not just emotion, it is atmosphere. It colors everything you touch. An uncontrolled mood creates storms where none exist. It blinds you to blessings and magnifies problems until they consume you. But a controlled mood brings clarity. It allows you to see challenges as stepping stones instead of barriers. It allows you to lead yourself and others with calm in times of chaos. That kind of control turns you into a pillar of strength people can rely on. And when others rely on you, doors open, trust deepens, and influence grows. Your money is not just currency, it is choice. Without control, your choices shrink. You become trapped, forced to say yes when you want to say no, forced to settle when you want to rise. With control, your choices expand. You gain the freedom to walk away from what does not serve you, the ability to invest in what builds you, and the confidence to stand on solid ground no matter what storms come. Financial control is not about greed. It is about liberation. It is about creating space for your life to grow instead of shrink under pressure. Your mind is not just thought, it is command. It directs every other part of your being. When your mind is scattered, your life is scattered. When your mind is disciplined, your life is focused. Thoughts are the seeds of destiny, and you are the gardener. What you allow to grow will shape who you become. Control your mind, and you control your reality. Protect it from fear. Feed it with strength. Train it to focus on what moves you forward, and nothing will stop you. The external world will bend to the strength of an internal world that cannot be shaken. Control is the foundation of greatness because it ensures you are no longer reactive. You are proactive. You no longer wait for life to decide for you. You decide for life. You no longer drift. You direct. You no longer crumble. You command. That is the gift of control, the ability to rise above the pull of impulse and step fully into the power of intention. And once you taste that power, you will never want to live without it again. The power of control is not about holding yourself back. It is about directing your energy toward what truly matters. Energy is limited. Every careless word drains it. Every reckless mood wastes it. Every impulsive purchase burns it. Every negative thought consumes it. But when you practice control, you stop leaking power. You conserve it, channel it, and multiply it. That stored energy becomes momentum, and momentum is what carries you past obstacles that once seemed impossible. Control turns wasted strength into focused force, and focused force can move mountains. Your mouth is not meant to be a weapon against yourself. Yet how often do people sabotage their own opportunities with their words? They talk themselves out of progress. They destroy connections with careless comments. They weaken their image with empty chatter. But the person who controls their speech learns that silence has power, precision has power, and encouragement has power. Words used with discipline do not just communicate. They transform. They shift atmospheres. They inspire action. They create trust. And when trust surrounds you, influence follows. Your mood is not meant to dictate your destiny. Yet countless lives are derailed by moments of uncontrolled anger, despair, or fear. A single mood swing can ruin a day, a week, or even a relationship. But when you take charge of your mood, you begin to anchor yourself in strength. You remind yourself that feelings are not dictators. They are signals, and signals can be redirected. Controlled moods turn weakness into resilience, chaos into calm, pain into purpose. That kind of control creates a presence that cannot be ignored because people feel safer, stronger, and steadier when they are around you. Your money is not meant to control you. Yet many live enslaved by debt, by constant scarcity, by choices made in the heat of impulse. They work hard but remain stuck because discipline is missing. But financial control is not about deprivation. It is about direction. It is choosing long-term freedom over short-term pleasure. It is deciding that your future is worth more than the thrill of the moment. Every dollar with a purpose becomes a building block. Every disciplined decision adds stability, and stability creates confidence. With money under control, you are no longer chasing survival, you are building freedom. Your mind is not meant to be a battlefield where fear always wins, yet so many allow destructive thoughts to roam unchecked. They replay failures until failure feels permanent. They dwell on doubts until doubt feels like truth. But the mind can be trained, and when it is trained, it becomes your strongest ally. Controlled thinking replaces excuses with solutions, fear with faith, distraction with focus. It directs you to rise when everything inside screams to give up. That mental control is the highest form of strength because it ensures you can face storms without being swept away. Control is not the absence of freedom. It is the pathway to it. When you command your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, you no longer hand over the steering wheel of your life to chance. You take it back into your own hands. You stop being a passenger and become the driver. And with that shift comes a life not of regret, but of intention. A life not of chaos, but of clarity. A life not of wasted potential, but of realized power. This is what control gives you, the chance to live fully, freely, and fearlessly. Control is the foundation, but what you build on it determines the strength of your life. Many people achieve moments of control, but they lose consistency, and without consistency, control collapses. True mastery comes when discipline becomes part of who you are, not just what you try. It is not about occasional restraint. It is about creating a lifestyle where your mouth, your mood, your money, and mind no longer act against you but for you. When control becomes your nature, you no longer need to fight every battle. You simply rise above them. The way you speak must align with the future you want. Every sentence is either planting seeds of growth or planting weeds of destruction. Words are instructions to your subconscious, and your subconscious obeys. If you constantly speak defeat, you train your mind to quit before you begin, but if you declare progress, you program yourself for persistence. Control words are not empty affirmations. They are commands that shape behavior. You can either talk yourself into weakness or talk yourself into greatness. The decision rests on whether you let your mouth serve your emotions or your purpose. The way you regulate your mood shapes the quality of your relationships and opportunities. People are drawn to those who can stay steady when storms rage. They trust those who can remain calm under pressure. This is why emotional control is not just a personal victory, it is a social advantage. When you show patience in anger, grace in disappointment, or focus in chaos, you reveal strength most people have not yet mastered. That strength earns respect, and respect opens doors. The world does not reward emotional explosions, it rewards emotional composure. The way you direct your money is proof of how much you value your future. Every purchase is a vote for the person you are becoming. The undisciplined mind spends to escape. The disciplined mind invests to expand. Financial control is not about denying yourself joy. It is about choosing joy that lasts longer than a moment. Short-term indulgence fades quickly, but long-term stability grows. Every time you choose control over impulse, you build a foundation that cannot be shaken by circumstance. Money used with wisdom becomes a tool, not a trap. The way you discipline your mind determines whether you remain stuck or rise higher. Your thoughts are not harmless. They are the blueprint of your reality. An uncontrolled mind entertains every distraction, every fear, every doubt, and as a result, life reflects that chaos. But when you control your thoughts, you set boundaries for what you allow inside. You feed focus, not fear. You feed courage, not doubt. You feed possibilities, not limitations. Over time, that mental discipline rewires how you see yourself, how you act, and what you achieve. When you merge all four, speech, mood, money, and mind, you create harmony. Each one strengthens the other. Control words keep your mood steady. Control moves protect your financial decisions. Control finances ease the pressure on your mind. Controlled thoughts refine the words you speak. They form a cycle of power, a chain of strength where one discipline fuels the next. And when this cycle becomes part of your life, growth is no longer accidental, it is inevitable. This is the life available when you refuse to be ruled by impulse and choose to be guided by control. Discipline is not punishment. It is the highest form of self-respect. When you control your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind, you are not restricting your freedom. You are protecting it. You are saying to yourself, my future matters more than my impulses. My purpose matters more than my emotions. My growth matters more than my comfort. This shift in perspective changes everything. Because once you understand that control is a form of self-love, you stop resenting it and start embracing it. You no longer see discipline as chains. You see it as wings. The person who controls their words does not waste energy explaining themselves endlessly, defending every opinion or proving their worth. They conserve that power and use it with precision. Their voice carries weight, not because they speak the loudest, but because they speak with clarity and purpose. That kind of control makes people listen because true influence is not in how much you talk. It is in how much impact your words carry. Your voice can either scatter or sharpen. When you choose control, you choose to sharpen it until it cuts through noise and leaves a mark. The person who controls their mood becomes a calm in the storm. Instead of being tossed by every wave of feeling, they anchor themselves in values, not moods. This is what creates strength others cannot ignore. While most people lose themselves in anger, fear, or frustration, the controlled individual stands steady. That steadiness radiates power because it shows mastery over the self. And mastery over the self is more impressive than mastery over circumstances. Anyone can be strong when things are easy, but to be calm when chaos surrounds you, that is true strength. The person who controls their money refuses to let temporary pleasures destroy long-term stability. They understand that money flows to order, not disorder. It flows to discipline, not impulse. Every financial decision becomes a statement about identity. Am I building my future or borrowing from it? When you begin to control money, you move from surviving to creating. You no longer feel trapped by bills, fear, or scarcity. You feel empowered because every choice you make with money adds to a foundation that builds freedom instead of fear. The person who controls their mind becomes unstoppable. The mind is where every battle begins and ends. If you win in your thoughts, you win in your actions. If you lose in your thoughts, you have already surrendered. Controlling the mind is not about silencing every negative idea. It is about refusing to feed them. It is about training your focus on what strengthens you, on what lifts you, on what takes you closer to your goals. A disciplined mind becomes a compass, always pointing you toward progress no matter how strong the winds of distraction blow. When all four come together, you create alignment. And alignment is where greatness lives. There's no inner war pulling you in different directions. Your mouth, your mood, your money, and your mind move together like soldiers under command. They obey the vision you set, not the emotions of the moment. That harmony creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. This is the life that is possible when control stops being something you try and starts being who you are. The battle for control is not fought in grand gestures, but in small, repeated choices. It is not about one dramatic moment of discipline. It is about the countless unseen decisions that no one applauds, no one notices, but that slowly shape who you become. Each time you hold your tongue when negativity tempts you, each time you steady your mood when frustration rises, each time you save instead of spending recklessly, each time you redirect a thought from fear to focus, you are building strength. These victories may feel small in the moment, but together they form an unshakable foundation. Your mouth must be trained because words are seeds, and every seed grows into something. An unguarded tongue scatters weeds into your future, but a disciplined tongue plants gardens. With every controlled word, you water trust, you nurture peace, you cultivate opportunities. The undisciplined mouth burns bridges, but the controlled mouth builds them. And every bridge you build leads you closer to influence, to respect, to doors that reckless speech would have kept locked forever. Your mood must be mastered because emotions are waves, and waves can either drown you or carry you forward. The person who lets moods dictate actions lives a life of instability, always at the mercy of how they feel. But the one who masters moods becomes unshakable because their actions are rooted in values, not impulses. They may feel the same storms as everyone else, but they ride them differently. They know the storm is temporary, but their purpose is permanent. And with that perspective, they turn what could have been chaos into clarity, what could have been collapse into calm. Your money must be disciplined because money is energy, and energy must flow with intention. To waste it is to waste potential. To direct it is to design destiny. Every moment of financial control adds weight to your foundation, making it harder for life to shake you. It gives you the power to choose instead of being forced, the freedom to act instead of being trapped. Each disciplined decision becomes a brick in the fortress of freedom you are building. And one day that fortress will protect not only you, but those who depend on you. Your mind must be guided because thoughts are architects and they design the structure of your life. An undisciplined mind is like a builder without a plan. Bricks scattered, walls unfinished, foundations weak. But a controlled mind builds with precision, focus, and patience. It lays stone upon stone until what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. Every time you reject a limiting belief, every time you choose courage over fear, you are shaping a new reality. Over time, that reality becomes unshakable because it was built on the discipline of your thoughts. When your words, moods, money, and thoughts align, life stops being random and starts being intentional. You begin to live as the author of your story, not as a character lost in someone else's plot. That alignment creates a force that cannot be ignored because the world is drawn to those who are whole within themselves. They radiate strength without arrogance, stability without rigidity, clarity without confusion. This is the reward of control, the power to design a life that reflects not your impulses, but your deepest purpose. Control is the bridge between who you are now and who you are meant to become. Without it, potential remains only potential, unused, wasted, forgotten. But with it, even ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. Control is not about suppressing your humanity. It is about directing it. Your words, your moods, your finances, and your thoughts are not enemies to fight against. They are tools to master. When you align them with discipline, they stop working against you and start working for you. The power you once lost through carelessness becomes the very power that carries you forward. Your mouth shapes the way people see you long before your actions do. A disciplined tongue communicates strength, patience, and wisdom. People trust those who can hold their words because it shows they can hold their emotions, their decisions, and their responsibilities. Trust builds influence, and influence builds opportunities. Each time you choose silence over gossip, encouragement over criticism, clarity over confusion, you elevate your character in the eyes of others. You become the person whose words people remember, not because you speak often, but because you speak with purpose. Your mood directs the atmosphere around you. When you master your emotions, you gain control not only over yourself, but over the way people experience you. Energy is contagious. If you allow anger, fear, or frustration to dominate, you spread that energy everywhere you go. But if you cultivate calm, confidence, and focus, you lift everyone you touch. This is not weakness. This is power. It is easier to explode than to endure, but it is endurance that builds legacy. People will forget what you felt in a moment of weakness, but they will never forget how you carried yourself through storms. Your money reflects the level of order in your life. It is not just about numbers. It is about priorities. When you spend impulsively, you communicate to yourself that the future is less important than the present. But when you discipline your finances, you are sending a different message. That freedom, security, and growth are worth more than fleeting pleasures. Each wise choice compounds. Each sacrifice builds strength. Each act of restraint brings you closer to independence. Money does not buy peace, but control over money removes the chains that rob peace from so many. Financial discipline is not about greed. It is about freedom. Your mind determines whether you live as a victim or a creator. Thoughts are not neutral. They are powerful forces shaping how you see the world and how you respond to it. An undisciplined mind entertains chaos and calls it normal. A disciplined mind filters chaos and creates clarity. This is why controlling your thoughts is the highest discipline of all. It rewires your identity. If you believe you are weak, your life will reflect weakness. If you believe you are capable, your actions will begin to rise. Control your mind and you control the direction of your destiny. When all four are mastered, your life gains momentum. You begin to move with consistency, not by chance. Opportunities that once slipped through your fingers stay in your hands. People who once doubted you begin to respect you. Challenges that once crushed you now sharpen you. This is not because the world has changed, but because you have. Control transforms the inside, and the inside always shapes the outside. That is the quiet, unstoppable strength of a disciplined life.